Right now, while you are watching this video, there is a file being actively built on you. If you have an open personal injury claim, that file already exists. It contains screenshots from your Instagram, captures from your Facebook, clips from your TikTok, and a timestamped log of every public post you have made since the day of your accident. The insurance company hired someone to build it. They did it legally. They never told you it was happening, and they did not need your permission to do any of it. That file is not an investigation into wrongdoing. It is a precision financial instrument, and its sole purpose is to reduce the dollar amount they are legally obligated to pay you. Welcome to Torts and Truth. This is your decoded advocate. What most accident victims never learn, and what the insurance industry has spent significant institutional resources making sure stays unknown, is that social media surveillance is now a documented, standardized, and fully legal component of the personal injury claims process across the United States. The moment a significant injury claim is filed, a parallel investigation begins immediately. It operates without your awareness, without your consent, and without any legal requirement to notify you that it is running. This is not a theory. It is not an edge case reserved for suspicious claimants. It is embedded directly into the standard claims management protocols of every major carrier operating in this country. And for anyone with an active personal injury claim, right now, this is the single most underestimated threat to the full value of what you are owed. Insurance companies maintain dedicated units called Special Investigations Units, known internally as SIUs, and in 2026, a significant portion of their work begins online. Within 48 hours of a major claim being filed, sometimes within hours of the initial accident report, a surveillance protocol activates, a contractor is assigned, and your complete digital footprint is mapped across every platform connected to your identity. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, X, Snapchat public feeds, YouTube, every publicly accessible account is reviewed, documented, and archived into your claims file. They are not browsing casually. They are applying a structured analysis framework specifically engineered to find content that contradicts your reported injuries, your stated physical limitations, and the quality of life impact you described to your doctors. A photograph at a family gathering 5 days after your accident becomes evidence of physical mobility that contradicts your pain documentation. A video of you at a wedding 2 months into your recovery becomes evidence of exaggeration. A post about a weekend trip becomes evidence that your daily life was not materially disrupted. A gym check-in, even if you were there for 15 minutes doing exactly the stretches your physician prescribed, becomes evidence that your reported functional limitations were overstated. None of this requires any deception on your part. None of it requires bad intent. And every single piece of it is legally admissible in the process of reducing what you receive. Here is the exact financial mechanism by which social media evidence dismantles a personal injury settlement. And this is information most people never encounter until it has already caused permanent damage to their case. Personal injury valuation in the United States rests heavily on what is called pain and suffering damages. This is compensation for non-economic harm, the physical discomfort, the emotional distress, the activities you could no longer participate in, the relationships affected by your condition, and the quality of life you lost during your entire recovery period. Pain and suffering is consistently the largest single component of a serious injury settlement. And it is also the component most exposed to contradiction. The moment an adjuster identifies a photograph of you smiling at a backyard gathering 3 weeks after your accident, that image is immediately logged into your claims file as behavioral documentation that your reported pain level was inconsistent with your observable daily activity. A demand reduction letter is sent to your attorney, the settlement number decreases, and the stated reason is that surveillance documentation does not support the severity of the damages being claimed. One photograph, posted without any harmful intent, taken on one afternoon when the pain happened to be manageable. Evaluated without a single second of context by a financial professional whose only objective is to minimize their company's liability exposure. That is the entire mechanism. It works precisely because injured people are never told it operates. Social media monitoring is only the first layer of this investigation, and for claims projected at $50,000 or higher in settlement value, a second layer activates. Insurance carriers routinely authorize physical surveillance through licensed private investigators, and at this stage the operation moves entirely out of your screen and into your physical life. A PI assigned to your claim can legally follow your vehicle, film you in any public space, photograph you from a parked position outside your residence, and document your physical movement across parking lots, grocery stores, restaurants, and every accessible public location you enter. They are specifically trained to operate during weekends, family events, and holiday gatherings, exactly the moments when pain may be temporarily reduced and your physical activity appears greater than what has been formally documented. The footage is then reviewed by an independent medical examiner, a physician under contract to the insurance company, whose documented findings statistically favor the insurer's financial position, and who renders a formal clinical opinion about your actual functional capacity based entirely on surveillance footage taken on selected days by a hired investigator. That opinion enters your file carrying the weight of a medical document. It competes directly with your own treating physician's records, and it is used to argue that your reported limitations are behaviorally inconsistent. This is not reserved for fraud cases. It is a standard financial risk management procedure deployed against ordinary people with completely legitimate and thoroughly documented injuries. There is a third dimension to this process that almost no one considers until the damage is irreversible. Investigators do not limit their review to your own accounts. They systematically review the publicly accessible accounts of everyone closely connected to you, your family members' posts, your friends' tagged photographs, your spouse's stories in which you appear in the background. All of it is accessible. All of it is reviewed, and all of it can be entered into your claims file. After a serious accident, anxiety, disrupted sleep, depression, and post-traumatic stress responses are clinically documented outcomes of trauma. And under most personal injury frameworks, they are legally compensable, meaning you are entitled to financial recovery for documented psychological harm caused by another party's negligence. But when your visible digital presence during the same recovery period reflects social engagement, activity, and normalcy, that contrast is used specifically to challenge the credibility and value of your psychological injury claims. Your right to full recovery is real, and so is the industry's systematic and fully funded effort to find documentation that undermines it. If you have an active personal injury claim right now, these 5 steps must be taken immediately, and they must be completed before anything else in your claims process moves forward. First, set every social media account to maximum privacy today. Private accounts dramatically limit what can be accessed without a formal legal process. Second, stop all new posts until your claim reaches full resolution. Not reduced posts, not carefully selected content, no posts at all. Because every piece of content you publish enters the discoverable record of a financial negotiation that is already underway. Third, contact every close family member directly and ask them not to tag you, photograph you, or post any content publicly that includes your presence during your entire recovery period. Fourth, document your worst days with clinical precision. Pain journal entries, physician records, missed work documentation, and written communications with your treating providers form the factual counter record that protects your claim against every surveillance-based challenge. Fifth, ask your attorney directly how they are actively managing your digital profile as a formal component of your claims strategy. An attorney who cannot give you a precise and specific answer to that question is not operating at the level of precision your settlement demands. The Insurance Research Council has consistently documented that represented accident victims receive settlements averaging 3 to 4 times higher than those navigating claims without legal counsel, even after all attorney fees are deducted. And a substantial portion of that gap exists because represented claimants do not unknowingly build the surveillance documentation that is used to reduce their own claims. If you missed our last video on the medical authorization form that insurance companies send in the early days of your claim, the document that grants them legal access to your entire medical history before you even understand what the claims process involves, the link is in the description below. Watch it after this one. The investigation into your claim did not begin when you retained an attorney. It did not begin when you sent a formal demand. It began the morning you reported the accident. While you were focused entirely on your physical recovery, they were building documentation. While you were managing pain and appointments and financial stress, they were constructing the evidentiary framework to reduce every dollar of what you are owed. The gap between a trained SIU investigator operating with institutional resources and an injured person managing their recovery alone is not a difference in knowledge. It is a structural advantage the industry has spent decades deliberately engineering. Now you understand precisely what that advantage looks like, exactly how it operates, and specifically what you must do to protect the full value of what you are owed. This is your decoded advocate, and I will see you in the next one.